What is going on, faithfuls? It's your boy Nick, and I am back again. So Nothing But Niners crew, as always, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays. You know where we're at. Check us out. But anyway, before we get into the show tonight, I got to go through all the formalities. I know you guys hate it, but make sure you give us a follow if this is your first time here. Hit that like and subscribe button. Check us out on Twitter and Snapchat, Nothing But Nine. That's the number 9, ERS. And also Facebook and Instagram, Nothing But Niners, all spelled out. And you can also check us out on the World Wide Web, nothingbutniners.com, all spelled out. Nothingbutniners.com. So, guys, we're going to open up the floor tonight to a couple fans. We're just going to do some general topic conversation. I got my man Marcus here with me. I know Anthony's going to pop in a little bit, and also Mike will be in and out. He's got some stuff to take care of tonight. I know he's getting his hair did and things like that. So he will be popping in and out. So just want to say what's up to everybody. Niner Rich, DVLZ Sun, David Lopez, David Royce, Frisco Pisco, Scott McCoon, Wild Bill, Hodge, Artillo Paludo, just a bunch of good old supporters in there. So, Marcus, what's going on, man?
Not much, man. Just chilling. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. Look, we're like 81 days or something like that away from the season. So,
Listen, I'm itching. The finals are over. Now the NBA draft is over. All we got left is baseball. I'm itching for some football, man. I can't wait.
Yeah, man, I'm super excited. So we've been doing some shows. We've been talking about training camp. Training camp's out now, so the players are away for 6 weeks. We don't have any football coming back to us till July 26th, and then after that, it's like 2 weeks in preseason. So mid preseason. So I want to get some of your thoughts on what's been going on so far. Who are you hearing things about that you're most excited about? Who are some things what are some things that you're interested in seeing, or that you've heard the coaches say or players? Just kind of fill me in on what you've been getting with your 49er fix. I know you've been quite busy and stuff with work and changing jobs and things like that, but just give me a breakdown of what you feel so far for the 49ers heading into 2019.
I'm excited. I really am excited. I mean, I'm kind of tempering my excitement and my expectations just because we do have a lot of guys who are out, who are injured. I want to see what Jalen Hurd can do, but we got to wait till training camp. I want to see more Nick Bosa, but we got to wait till training camp. I want to see Jerick McKinnon, and I want to see Quan Alexander, but we got to wait till training camp. So a lot of, what I'm excited for and what I want to see, we have to wait till training camp. And I understand what Coach Shanahan said about, normally this time of year, we've got great health and everybody's participating, and then we lose guys in training camp, we lose guys in preseason, and then they're unavailable during the season. So hopefully that does turn around for us. I'm a big guy, but in my heart, and the reason why I fell in love with the 49ers is because I'm a receiver at heart. So the position that I'm most looking forward to is that wide receiver position. I've had debates with, family members and friends. I know you and Mike have gone back and forth about, what the outlook of that position group is going to be. I'm excited for Dante Pettis. Him, putting on a little bit of extra weight. It doesn't seem that he's lost his speed or his shiftiness. He's been doing really well. I'm excited to hear that Trent Taylor is 100% healthy, and he's looking like, the Trent Taylor we saw his rookie year. Him and Garoppolo have picked right up where they left off, and they're continuing to build that chemistry. I'm excited to see what Jordan Matthews brings. Again, we talked about Jalen Hurd and Deebo Samuel. I heard Kendrick Bourne's been killing it. So everything that John and Kyle have been working towards, you can kind of see in that position group where, when they first came, it was just patchwork. It was get whoever we can in here because we need to put 6 bodies at that position. Now we might lose a guy who's qualified and who can make a big impact in our offense because there are guys in front of him that are just better. And hopefully it's a young guy who's still eligible for the practice squad, but we know practice squad guys can get sniped at any point. So I think for me, the most interesting position group is that wide receiver group because Jimmy's going to have to get the ball to more than Kittle and more than just the running backs out of the backfield. So I want to see who steps up in that group. But it looks like Dante and Trent Taylor are really taking a step forward and really commanding a presence in that room.
Yeah, I'm super excited about the receivers also. I just got into not a Twitter debate, but I was just on Twitter, and it's funny because how many people were loving Trent Taylor his first year, right? So how many people were loving Trent Taylor? Sorry, my mic's not plugged in for some reason. All right, there we go. So how many people were loving Trent Taylor and what he was doing? He was a third down specialist. He was catching these balls, and to me, Trent Taylor has really good hands, but he lacks explosion, right? So after the catch, he lacks that explosion. He has good separation from that 0 to 15 yards, right? Anything after that is pretty much, he's a smaller guy. He's going to get eaten up, okay? I'm a big Trent Taylor fan. But with the additions of Debo, the additions of Jalen Hurd, the addition of Jordan Matthews, everybody's talking about how all these guys can play other positions and Trent Taylor can't. Well, Trent Taylor did play the outside a little bit last year. It looks as he's been lining up a little bit on the outside this year as well. Not that is his cup of tea. We all know that his cup of tea is as a slot guy. Inside, get quick separation, those quick slants, get him the ball, get that 10 yards or whatever have you. So my point on this whole thing is I was talking about Trent Taylor tonight, and I was wondering because how many people, it's surprising to me that how many people love Trent Taylor his first year and then goes into his second year with a back injury and back surgery, which he said himself he didn't realize that he lost all that explosion. Like he didn't realize himself until he really got out there and started playing that he lost all that explosion that he had, coming off the line, not necessarily explosion after catching the football. But everybody just seems to have Trent Taylor as the odd man out. And one of the guys had said on there says, well, to me, Trent Taylor just hasn't really proven himself. And I think Richie James makes the team. Well, where's Richie James proved himself compared to what Trent Taylor has? Now, I know it's different years, right? And obviously, Trent Taylor was a fifth-round pick. He played very well his rookie year, injured his second year. But he still did prove himself a little bit that year before. I know every year you have to come out, you got a ball, you got to beat the person who's next to you. I understand all that. But Richie James didn't take advantage as much as I would have liked him to last year with all the injuries and all the receivers going down. I don't think he took advantage to anywhere near what his potential was. I don't know if that was just jitters or whatever it was. But what are your thoughts on Trent Taylor versus a Richie James?
Taking my bias out of it because I really do like Richie James. I think Trent has the edge, and I say that because he just has more experience with the offense. For one. Two, he has the relationship with the quarterback. So while Kyle has say of the final roster, I'm sure when it comes to the guys that Jimmy's throwing to, he may take his input. Now, whether he goes to Jimmy and says, look, what 5-6 guys do you want? Or he just says, what do you think about, like you said, this guy versus this guy? Who would you rather? What are the pros? What are the cons? What do you see as a benefit to keeping one over the other? I think that plays a big role in it too. And that gives Jimmy 2 threats on third down with Kittle and Trent that he trusts. I agree with what you said. Richie came in and he did some things well. He didn't do others very well. He does provide a little bit of spark on special teams. And he does have a little bit more explosion than Trent when it comes to special teams. But as far as a receiver and somebody who we're going to trust to be on the field to make crucial catches, to get open, I think Trent is a little bit shiftier in his route running. And I think he does edge out Richie if it comes down to Trent Taylor versus a Richie James.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, either way, This year, it's going to be really hard getting us down to 6 or 7 receivers. We're going to lose one guy that the Niner faithful like, whether it be Trent Taylor, whether it be Richie James, whether it be, Jordan Matthews, which a lot of people aren't talking about, but Jordan Matthews is an all-around receiver as well. He does the slot, he does special teams, he does outside, he plays the X, Y, and Z position. I think he's probably going to be the most underrated guy going into this season, and probably the most bubble-ish guy, I guess you could say, because Richie James has experience in this offense compared to Jordan Matthews. Trent Taylor has experience going into this offense compared to other guys. Now, where you get the difference is obviously special teams, right? You get that difference in special teams. I think Richie James is a better special teams player than Trent Taylor is. More explosion, has more of ability to take it to the house compared to Trent Taylor. But we also have Raheem Mostert coming back, which is another big thing, as in where if he's playing, he's going to be playing special teams. He's going to be playing the gunner. He's going to be returning kicks or punts, vice versa. Myself and Mike were talking the other night about Jalen Hurd and how people were talking about Jalen Hurd. And we'll move on to another receiver. So Jalen Hurd, a lot of people were talking about how, I think it was Matt Barrows or one of those guys, I forget who it was, me and Mike were talking about it, had said that he sees Jalen Hurd as being a short down back. And me and Mike were talking about this, and my explanation for it was I don't see that happening at all this year. Like, I really think that Jalen Hurd this year, since he's only played receiver 1 year, that he missed all of OTAs and mini camp, and he's going to be coming in training camp, plus he's rehabbing a knee injury. I think he's going to be sprinkled into this offense for him to be allowed to earn that position. Do I think he's going to make the 53? Absolutely. Obviously, draft position, he's going to make the 53. Do I see him being a superstar player this year? Probably not. I think more so 1 year in this system, sprinkled in to where you can move and obviously become a star next year or the year after, such and such. What are your thoughts on Jalen Hurd going into this season?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think if we throw him in the backfield, it'll be as a decoy. I don't think there will be many times, if any, where we'll actually hand him the ball. I think Kyle drafted him for that kind of, I don't want to wish this on him, but that kind of H-back Aaron Hernandez role, where obviously he's a receiver and he has the speed to where he can line up outside and he can do damage outside, but he can also line up inside. You can line him up in the backfield and have him run routes. You can do 2 tight end sets with Jalen Hurd to throw people off, whether it's 11 personnel or if you're running 2 tight ends to the same side, have him stacked with George Kittle and, run some games and some stunts with those 2 guys, some combo routes with those 2. But I see him, like you said, sprinkle him in, use him more in the receiver role, and kind of like that H-back tight end role more than him being our, short yardage back. I think we can trust Kyle. I think we can trust Juice with that role. If it's a 2nd and 1, 3rd and 1, and we need to punch it in, give it to Juice. I mean, he's solid as a rock. He's got great hands. He's got great feet. Juice can get a yard, and I think it's up to the offensive line to help him get that yard. I think Tevin Coleman is a stronger back than people give him credit for. So obviously he's not a LeGarrette Blount, but I think if it's 2nd and 2, 3rd and 2, and Kyle decides to run the ball, somebody like Tevin Coleman can pick up those 2 tough yards. I think although we haven't seen it yet, from my history of watching Jerick McKinnon, although he's a small back, that kid's tough. That kid's tough, man. And then looking at Matt Breida's tough too. He finishes runs. So we have 4 running backs, although they don't fit that short yardage back mold. They're not a Derrick Henry or like a LeGarrette Blount or a Brandon Jacobs, but we have tough running backs who have all fight, no quit, and they can get yards in short yardage situations. So we have 4 capable guys who are going to be on this roster who can get yards in the short game. I don't think we need to use Jalen Hurd in that capacity.
Yeah, I mean, I completely 100% agree with you. I think me and Mike talked about that the other day. Like, who do we think is going to be the short yardage back? And my first instinct was like Tevin Coleman. Like, I think that's who really is going to be. I mean, Juice can probably do it, but he hasn't been very successful with it for some odd reason. Last year I was just watching the Minnesota game. Before you popped in here, I was just watching the Minnesota game, and he had that fumble where he just got stacked up, and he tried to go to the outside and tried to stretch with his hand and just fumbled the football on a crucial down too. And it was on our 30. And, every time I watch Juice try to get that short yardage, I just don't see him getting it. So I think I have more confidence in a Tevin Coleman, even a Matt Breida between tackles. I mean, he's small, he's shifty. That's the same thing with Jerick McKinnon. He's small, but he's a bull. You know what I mean? He's going to lower his shoulder. He's going to try to go through you. The same thing, Matt Breida, but I trust McKinnon going through you more than I do Matt Breida. I trust Tevin Coleman going through you more than I trust both of them. So people were saying, I was listening to a conversation, and people were saying how they think the 49ers only keep 5 receivers because of the fact that they're keeping so many running backs, and the running backs are going to line up as receivers. And this got me thinking. I don't think the Niners don't keep more than 6 receivers. I think it's a minimum of 6, possibly 7. That's my personal thinking. You're not going to cut a guy from a position because you're keeping a running back who's going to line up very, very sparingly as a receiver. Will they do it? Yes. In certain types of, certain plays, but they're not going to be consistently out as a receiver. You need that backup position. You got 5 guys, you get 2 down, you're down to 3 guys. There's no way that you're running through an entire season with 5 receivers. So Jimmy Garoppolo, we all know, is coming back. Has been looking pretty good on 7-on-7s, and I think he ran 111 on 11 for a last play of training camp, which I don't even know why Kyle Shanahan would do that. He's like, oh, I told the defense not to blitz, but they still blitzed. So you lost Jerick McKinnon on the last play of training camp or preseason practice. Last play of preseason practice heading into week 1. You lose a guy, and you're sending 11 guys on a blitz. And he said, yeah, at first I didn't know what the hell they were doing, and I was a little pissed off because I just told them to go and put their hands up. But they must have misunderstood me, and they went after him. Mm-hmm. So 2 things out of that. One, it's scary because you don't want Jimmy getting hurt in practice, obviously, especially coming on 11 on 11s when you said that he wasn't going to be ready till training camp. But 2, the pass rush, I know it's not anything to get really excited about yet because there's no pads and no things like that, but I'm hearing a lot of good things about how fast this defense is.
And I think the thing that I took out of that story is they're hungry. So, even if they didn't misunderstand him and he was like, hey, guys, we're going to have speed here. Just put your hands up to kind of give him a barricade to throw over to kind of clog up his vision of, what he's seeing. They were like, man, forget that. We're going to go get him. So I love that from our defense. They're hungry. They're chomping at the bit to get after whoever they can, Jimmy included. Why you run the last 11 on 11? I think you just want to give Jimmy the look. And I think, like Kyle said in his mind, he was expecting the defense to go half speed. Offense go full speed, defense go half speed, just to give him a look, just to give him the feel that, you're getting back into it and kind of build his confidence up a little bit. So, I mean, I didn't mind it so much. And the fact that he was about his wits and he ran in, he was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. All right, that's it. No, all right, practice over. Hit the shot. He cut it short. He didn't stop it and kind of try to redirect and then have him run it again. He just knew okay, it wasn't meant to be today. We can end it here. So I think that was good on his part. But I'm excited to see what this defense does.
All right, so that leads me into, all right, so let's go. Give me one offensive player you're really excited about this year, and give me one defensive player that you're really excited to watch this year. We'll do offense first.
Offense. I don't know if I can give you just one. Piggybacking off of what you said earlier, I do think we keep 6 receivers, and I think we keep 4 backs. I think the backs are not counting Juice, well, because obviously Juice is making the roster, but I think the 4 running backs are Mostert, McKinnon, Breida, and Coleman. So I think we're keeping 4 backs, and I do think we're keeping 6 receivers. Now that's only 10 roster spots of the 53. And I mean, you got to think about the 2 quarterbacks. You got to think about Juice, and then the 10 to 12 linemen maybe.
Yeah, I think they kept 9 offensive linemen last year, and I think 8 defensive linemen.
Yeah. So I definitely think it's 6 and 4. But offensively, I think the player that I'm most excited to see. Oh my God, Thomas, if I had to pick a player, I'll say Jimmy. And I'll say Jimmy for the simple fact that there was an article that came out that said the 49ers may be interested in trading for Kirk Cousins if Jimmy Garoppolo has a poor season. And I'm like, that would be stupid. Because I know Kyle likes Kirk, but Kirk will be a year older. He went to Minnesota with that offense and the receivers that they have. He went to Minnesota with the receivers that they have, the offense that they have. I know their offensive line struggled a little bit, but Kurt was mediocre. So, if Jimmy has a poor season, you got to look at most quarterbacks who are coming off an ACL injury. Their next season wasn't a breakout performance every single time. So you got to give him a little bit. Do I think Jimmy struggles? Absolutely not. I don't think he struggles and has a bad season. But I am interested to see what kind of mental growth that he has and how that mental growth kind of eases the physical constraints that he may have, worrying about, is his knee going to hold up, worrying about, taking a hit after being off for however long he's been out. And then I want to see him get into a rhythm. If we start winning a couple games, we win 1, we win 2, and he's just on a roll, throwing for 300 plus yards, throwing for 3 plus touchdowns. I want to see him kind of like get on a roll and get hot, and then see how that carries us throughout the season. So I want to see what Jimmy does.
All right, interesting. So you picked Jimmy, and you gave a great explanation, and you gave a great breakdown as to why you think you want to see Jimmy play. Give me some realistic numbers that you would be happy with Jimmy. Now, take into consideration that Kyle Shanahan, when he had Matt Ryan with Julio Jones and that type of offense they had, only had 4,500 yards. So take into consideration with that as well. And give me what you think is a good season. You don't have to give me high expectations, but give me what you think would be a good season for Jimmy Garoppolo this year. Average yards and touchdowns versus interceptions. Just off the top of your head.
4,200 yards. 32. 4,000 to 4,200 yards. 32 to 35 touchdowns to 10 to 12 interceptions. If he can put up that stat line, if he can give me 4,000 plus, if he can give me 30 plus touchdowns, and if he can keep the interceptions below 12 or below, I think that's a decent season for him with the money that we're paying him, with the expectations of what he can do because of who initially drafted him, who he learned from, and who's calling the plays for him now, with the weapons that we have around him, with an offensive line that has that cohesiveness because they've been together for another year. You've got Kittle, you've got Goodwin, you've got Dante Pettis. Now you bring in a Deebo Samuel. You got your guy Trent Taylor back if he stays healthy. You got a stable full of running backs that can catch the ball out of the backfield and run between the tackles and can run on the edge. You have all the pieces, and you have the offensive mastermind who knows how to put these pieces on the field and get people open to make it easy for you. So if you can get 4,000, 30 plus, and keep the interception number below 12, to me, that's a solid season.
That's a really solid season. I mean, I'd be happy with 4,200 yards, 30 plus touchdowns with only 10 to 12 interceptions. That's a really good year. All right, good choice there. I'm gonna go a little bit different, and the one player I'm really excited to see this year, and everybody's gonna say, "Well, why?" I'm gonna stay away from receivers because I'm excited to see all of them. There's not one specific guy that I'm really excited to see. But I got to go with Matt Breida. Okay. And the reason I got to go with Matt Breida is because I think Matt Breida had injury issues last year. We all know that. He had an ankle, he had a knee, he had a shoulder. But you also got to look back to the point where he wasn't taking as many snaps in training camp. He went into the season as the number one guy. He goes into the season, then you got Alfred Morris, who wasn't getting a lot of snaps. Then you get Jeff Wilson Jr., then you get Raheem Mostert. You got all these guys filling in, and they all start going down. Well, Jeff Wilson didn't come until late in the season, but this team relied on Matt Breida a lot last year, like a ton. And I think that's because of the fact that all of training camp, all of OTAs, it was Breida and McKinnon getting all the playbook stuff. It really wasn't Mostert. It really wasn't Jeff Wilson. It wasn't really till late Alfred Morris. So each week they were learning the playbook. They started to learn the playbook a little bit more. And then obviously players went down. But with the snaps that he's going to get off, the ability to stay healthy is getting better. As in where it's not, Breida had to keep going in and out, in and out, in and out with that ankle injury. He could make cuts and stuff, but then when he get landed on, that's when it would start to hurt again. Mm-hmm. So he fought injuries last year. He fought that battle. But this year with having a healthy McKinnon, a healthy Tevin Coleman, even a healthy Mostert, and those guys, if you give him, you go from, let's say Breida goes from 20 snaps a game, which he was like pretty much getting last year, average of 15 to 20 snaps, to 7 to 11 snaps. The production that he can produce being fresh legs, I'm excited to see that part of him. And I think Breida should go. I truthfully think that Breida should go into the season as the number one back. He's earned it last year. He showed what he could do. Tevin Coleman's coming in, learning. And this doesn't go off of who I think is a better running back. I don't want anybody to think that I'm saying that. But with what Matt Breida has proven, I think he should go in as the number one guy, which I don't think the Niners will do anyway, either way. I don't think they're going to have a number one guy. I think these guys are going to be a true testament of running back by committee. You agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I was going to say, like, the 7 to 11 snaps in this offense, that might be a lot. Because, I mean, it depends on the game situation. But if you do 7 to 11 snaps for each of them, on the low end, that's 21 snaps a game for Breida, McKinnon, and Coleman. On the high end, that's 33. So, I get what you're saying, but for that to happen at some point, Breida's going to have to take snaps from somebody. And who does he take them away from? Does he take them away from Coleman? Does he take them away from McKinnon? Because McKinnon's got the contract. So I look at that as I don't know who he's going to take snaps from. and it's really going to depend on what happens in training camp and what happens in preseason to show, who's more capable early on, who has the hot hand early on. And I mean, I like the running back by committee scheme to a point. But from what I've seen and what I've experienced with running backs, they got to get into a rhythm. They got to get into, the feel of the game.
Well,
and sometimes with 7 to 11 carries, you may not be able to get into your rhythm. It especially if those 7 to 11 carries are scattered. If you get 2 carries in the first quarter, 1 carry in the second quarter, and then, your next carry doesn't come until, 5 minutes left in the third. You got this big gap in between your last carry and your next carry. So I honestly think it's going to be at the beginning who can stay the healthiest, and then it's going to be a game by game. In the early part of the season, it's going to be matchup based. It's going to be who's on our schedule, what are they weak at, and who's the best at destroying this weakness, and we're going to exploit it. Later on in the season, I think it's going to be a lot of the matchup based stuff, but I think it's also who has the hot hand, who's rolling right now, who's, stacked up, 2, 3 performances, in a row where they're just hot right now. So we have to feed them the ball because they're hot, they're on a roll, and we want to keep that momentum going because it keeps our offensive momentum going. So I am anxious to see that as well, not just with Matt Breida, but with the entire running back group of how Kyle's going to utilize them and who's going to take advantage of, the even spread of carries, who's going to take the most advantage of the limited touches that they get, because those touches are going to have to get spread out. You don't sign Tevin Coleman just to have him standing on the sideline. You don't sit Matt Breida on the sideline like you mentioned with the season that he had last year. You don't pay Jerick McKinnon that much money to have him standing on the sideline. So all 3 of those guys are going to be on the field at some point. Sometimes there may be 2 of them on the field at the same time. I wouldn't be surprised if you see all 3 of them on the field at some point. So it's just who's going to take advantage of those carries when they get them.
Yeah, no, and that's what I was going to finish out and say, because I've been preaching pretty much all offseason that I really don't think there's going to be a number 1 back. I think it's going to go as, like you said, hot hand. That 1 week it may be Tevin Coleman running the football, getting the workload, and the other guy's getting 7 to 11 carries. 1 week it may be, okay, well, they're going to game plan for Tevin Coleman now, so let's throw Jerick McKinnon. He fits better in, and he's going to get the more touches. And then McKinnon and Breida and Coleman will sprinkle in. And I think that's how it's going to really work. And like you said, at first I think it's going to be matchup based. It's going to be where – but what I mean by 7 to 11 carries is, yeah, I think instead of him just taking all the workload, I think he can be more explosive if he's getting those limited amount of touches because he's not worried about those nagging injuries the entire year like he was last year with the ankle. And that's what I was kind of trying to get at. And then – on top of that, you can have Tevin Coleman come in and get, let's just say we're up by, and this is where I think you're going to see that 7 to 11 carry type thing is, you're up by 2 touchdowns. You're going to see all 3 of those running backs all different times throughout the whole game. They may all get 10 carries. Who the hell knows? Kyle Shanahan doesn't usually run the ball more than 25 times a game, just from the past, but I mean, obviously he's got more weapons there now, so maybe he does utilize the running backs a little bit more, as in rushing wise. You're going to see them lined up wide. You're going to see them in the backfield, 2 of them. And like you said, you may even see 3. You may see that three back set, 1 tight end. You may see that type of setup. I'm really interested to see how he utilizes Matt Breida this year, though, and I'm really excited to see just the running backs in general. But I wanted to kind of stay away from receivers because I'm excited about every single receiver, as well as I am the running backs, because I'm kind of interested to see what Jerick McKinnon really is in this offense. And I'm also excited to see Tevin Coleman under Kyle Shanahan again. And I'm excited because of the year Matt Breida had last year. Same thing with Mostert. I'm not a huge Mostert fan. I don't think he's, me and Mike go back and forth about Mostert all the time. It's not that he's a bad running back. It's just he's never really been that guy.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? When he was out there last year, he had a ton of explosion. He could definitely do it. I just don't see him beating out any of the other three guys to take snaps away from them. That's just me personally. I think he's going to be more of a special teams ace like he's been, and he's going to be getting snaps, 2 or 3 snaps maybe in practice or whatever, learning the playbook. And if somebody goes down, then that's going to be his chance to shine as that back. Because all 4 of them are pretty much the same. They're all explosive. They're all quick. They're all they can all catch the football, and they all kind of run the same. They all kind of have that same type of run. They're not really angry runners. Tevin Coleman's probably the most angriest runner of them all, but compared to Breida, McKinnon, and Mostert, I think they're all pretty much the same as when it comes to angry running. All right, so we talked about the receivers. We talked about running backs. We talked about Jimmy Garoppolo coming back. What does this defense overall have to do for you to, not for you specifically, but for Niners fans, to give Robert Saleh that pass?
I want to say we have to be a top 10 defense, but looking at the numbers, weren't we like 11th last year?
We were 13th in rush, and pass defense, I think I forget what our number was in pass defense.
But like total, weren't we 11th or something?
No, we were down low. We were like 22nd or something like that overall.
Okay. I thought something said we were 11th in something.
We might have been 11th in pass defense and 13th in,
which is wild.
Because we didn't give up that many yards, truthfully.
No, we didn't.
And that was the thing. We didn't get those turnovers.
Okay.
And that's what killed us.
So I would say this. We have to be a legit top 10 defense. Like top 10 in both rushing and pass defense. We have to be a legitimate top 10 defense. For Robert Saleh to get a pass, we have to be a legit top 10 defense. We got the guys who are the pass rushers. Now, I'm not expecting D Ford to come in and have a 22 sack Michael Strahan season. I'm not expecting Nick Bosa to come in and do the same thing. But I need more pressure on the opposing quarterback than we had the past 2, 3, 4 years. Once we lost Aldon Smith for his foolish mistakes, and once Justin Smith retired, our pass rush was gone, like absolutely gone.
I think we could be a top 10 defense if we start to get those takeaways, and I think that's what really hurt us last year is those takeaways. And talking about that pass rush, going back and watching this season, I've been watching. I don't know. I probably watched the entire season again over the last 3 weeks, and we all talk about pressures and we all talk about those hits and things like that. And we're talking about defensive side of the ball right now, so I'll stay on that. But if we can get that edge there so much more, these guys in the middle were eating last year.
Mm-hmm.
They were literally eating, and it was just guys were just slipping out of the edge. It was just guys not staying on their assignments, guys not getting to the backfield fast enough from the edge. Man, I'm so excited. There's so many sacks we could have had last year if we had a legitimate edge rush type of guy. And Niners fans don't need to know that by just going back and watching it. But I was specifically just watching Ronald Blair, Cassius Marsh. They even had
who needs more playing time, by the way, Ronald Blair.
Oh yeah, and he's going to have a hill to climb this year. He's going to have a hill to climb with Contavious Street. Then Julian Taylor's going to, can play inside or outside, but obviously he's more of an inside guy.
Yeah.
Um,
That's another position group to watch
oh,
because you said we
defense was
kept what,
good.
9? We kept
Yeah,
9 D
we kept
linemen
9
last
last
year.
year.
So I mean that is a big number, but you already know the guys who are going to be there. Solly's going to be there. Buck is going to be there. D Ford, Nick Bosa, Eric Armstead. What's that? 5?
Yeah,
That's
so
that's
you
5
got
of the 9.
let's just do the edge rushers real quick. D Ford, Nick Bosa, Ronald Blair, um, Contavious Street, who was playing outside as well. That's 4 right there. DeForest Buckner, Eric Armstead, Solomon Thomas, DJ
That's 8.
Jones.
That's 9.
Um,
So what, does Julian Taylor go to practice squad?
I don't know, and I don't know if he's actually eligible because he was active last year.
Hmm.
So he was active for a certain amount of games. So I don't know if he's actually eligible.
So we may have to keep him on the active roster and put somebody like Street on the practice squad.
Yeah. So
Keep all.
somebody from that defensive line that we love
Yeah,
is getting cut.
yeah. But what
We already
people,
got rid of Peter Tamapenu,
yeah,
so that helps.
yeah,
We already got rid of Dakota Watson, so
yeah.
that kind of helps the linebacker type on the defense. But then you still have, well, we lost Brock Coyle, so then you still have Dre Greenlaw, David Mayo for that linebacker position, Quan Alexander, Fred Warner, Malcolm Smith. So
He
you
can
got
go.
a lot of guys there
He can
too.
go to me.
Huh?
Malcolm Smith can go.
Oh, absolutely. I
He can go.
totally agree.
He can go.
I just think the only thing that I don't like is Dre Greenlaw needs to get better in rush defense. He's really good in coverage, but he needs to get better in rush defense. From what I've watched of him, like his tape.
Well, listen, I'm hoping is that he won't have to do too much run defense, and that he'll have to do a lot of coverage defense. But piggybacking off of you said, going back to the defensive line, what I'm excited about is at any given point, one of those guys is going to have a one-on-one because there's only 5 offensive linemen. Yeah, you keep the tight end in and you can, have the back chip, but most backs aren't good chippers, and there aren't that many good blocking tight ends in the league anymore. So at some point, Bucky's getting a one-on-one. Nick Bosa's getting a one-on-one. D Ford's getting a one-on-one. At some point, at any given moment in the game, one of those guys is getting a one-on-one. And they may see a couple of those instances where they get one-on-ones throughout the game. And just the possibilities of what they can do in those situations, working together, rushing together, especially with the mentality that Chris Kosaric is instilling in those guys right now.
Yo, I
Man,
love him. I love him.
man. If you ask me who I'm excited to see on offense, I could pick one person. Defense, I can't. Because it's the entire defensive line, because I want to see what they do individually and as a collective. And then my honorable mentions on defense would be Akello Witherspoon, because I want to see if he can shake that sophomore slump and get out of his head. And honestly, and I'm a sucker for this, because not just with the Niners, but with guys around the league, I want to see Jason Verrett healthy. And I want to see a healthy Jason Verrett get back to form. And if he can stay healthy, and if he can get back to form, and if he can play the way he was playing in San Diego, before all the injuries started to set in, man, like our defense is going to be scary.
Who are you sitting if Verrett is healthy?
If Verrett is healthy, Quan,
So you're gonna put Verrett in the slot?
yeah,
Interesting.
yep.
Interesting.
And then matchup based it. Matchup based it. So a lot of teams are using the bigger wide receivers in the slot. So, if you don't want Sherm traveling, when we play Arizona, especially if Akello can get out of his head and if he can just play technique football, and if he doesn't have to be in coverage for 12 seconds. When we play Arizona, you can shift Verrett to the outside and you can let Akello play uh, Fitzgerald. You can put Akello inside when Fitzgerald playing the slot. When we play other teams that have guys like a Jordan Matthews who are 6'3", 6'4", and they're playing those guys in the slot, you can swap Verrett, put him outside, and then put Akello inside on the bigger guys because Akello has the height and the length to deal with the jump balls and attacking the ball at the highest point with some of these bigger wide receivers. So, but if Verrett is healthy, absolutely, I'm sitting Quan and I'm putting Verrett on the field because his instincts, his eyes, when he's healthy, he trusts what he sees. His feet and his eyes, they're connected. So he sees it, he goes, he has good ball skills. When healthy, he's one of the top corners in the league.
Oh, when he's healthy, he's proven that he's a top 10 guy. But
Dynamic.
He's very, very dynamic. He's swift with his moves. He's really quick on his feet. He's good with his hips. Just looks really good. I like Quan Williams though, man. I love Quan Williams. I don't know what it is. I just really love Quan Williams. I want to see. I'm excited about that whole defensive line, but I want to see how Witherspoon comes back because it looks like he has put on a little bit of weight, not like bad weight, but like good weight. Looks like, from just watching videos. I don't know. I'm not out there, so I don't know. Guys, don't take this to the heart. But it's kind of like when we had Adrian Colbert on the show, and he said that, he was trying to play like somebody else. And that's what really messed up his game. He was trying to be somebody else. He wasn't being Adrian Colbert. And I kind of felt that's what Akello Witherspoon was kind of doing. And he was kind of in his own head, like, I got this. I'm good. I don't need to really work on this, such and such. I want to see where his head is at this year because there's no lying that he's athletic. There's no denying that he's very athletic. He's a good corner. Would I put him in a top 10, top 20 corner in the league? Not even a chance.
Not yet.
Not even a chance. Does he have potential to be that? Absolutely. Do I think that he'll be better this year, knowing that he got benched last year and things just weren't good enough? Plus, you bring in a Jason Verrett. Plus, you bring in, you still have Richard Sherman here. You got other guys competing for that position. Then you go and sign Dante Johnson as well. So, to me, that's just like, do these guys really believe in me? Like, to me, that would make me want to step up my game.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you don't step up your game with if a Dante Johnson starts over you, you got issues. Like, to me, I know Mike loves Dante Johnson in the short intermediate throws. Good person for that, but anything past 15 yards, this guy gets toasted all the time, or he's gonna cause a penalty. But I'm excited to see what Akello Witherspoon brings back, and what I mean by that is not his play, but it is head. Like, how is he going to react?
I'm glad you said that because that was my next point. And yes, we dealt with a lot of injuries, but when it wasn't injuries, especially on defense, a lot of it was all mental. Even with Sherm, it was mental because because of the sutures in his Achilles, he couldn't turn the way he used to turning. So he had to compensate for that. So he was thinking about, how am I turning? How am I planting my foot? How am I pivoting? That's mental. Colbert, I wasn't playing like myself. Mental. Akello, you could tell Akello was in his head all last season. And I get it. You're in the NFL. You're on the world's biggest stage. Every single Sunday, you got to come out and you got to perform. And I understand that there's a lot of pressure with that. And I think whether it was, pressure to build on his rookie season, whether it was pressure to really, stand out and separate himself from a Richard Sherman who is, his opposite on the other side, whatever it was, you can tell Akello was in his head. But a lot of, what plagued us last year, besides the injuries, was just the mental part of the game. We have talent at every single position. We have great athletes who are multifaceted and they can do multiple things, and they have range, they have speed, they have agility, they can accelerate. They have all of the physical characteristics. Their football IQs are high. But when that mental block is in the way, it changes the way you play, and it's not for the better. So I think if all those guys, Sherm, Colbert, Witherspoon, and whoever else was dealing with the mental hangups of, trying too hard instead of just going out, playing fast, playing free. I think if they can get back to that, that's also what's going to help this defense become very, very scary. And the back end is going to help the front end with those pressures, and the front end is going to help the back end with those turnovers. If we can just stay healthy and get out of our own heads.
The other thing that, like, what you're talking about with being in your own head was a lot of time last year, like you said, it was just simple, stupid mental mistakes. But when Adrian Colbert was on here, we talked to him about communication. He said there wasn't a lot of it because every week somebody different was in. And they couldn't, just like you said with the the linebackers or the defensive backs, or not the defensive backs, the offensive line, defensive line. Communication is key. And you have to know how this guy plays. Is he going to be able to cover that, or do I have to go over there? Is that player going to be able to do this, or do I have to do that? And we were missing a lot of that last year, and we seen it. We literally seen it on a couple touchdowns where guys just stood there. I posted this one Malcolm Smith play, like he literally had the back coming out of the backfield, was covering him, and then just stayed right in the zone and just let him go by him wide open for a touchdown. But was it all Malcolm Smith's fault, or was the safety supposed to roll over, or was Akello Witherspoon or Adrian Colbert, not Akello Witherspoon, Adrian Colbert supposed to roll over and cover that? Did he just get to the break late? Because that's what it kind of looked like in the play. Now, I don't know what the defensive call was, so I couldn't really put it all on to Malcolm, but I did put on there, I was like, what is Malcolm doing here? Because he's in coverage, had him, and then literally just stopped while the guy ran past him. And then Adrian Colbert was all the way on the left-hand side of the field and couldn't get over in time. So and they both looked at each other like this. Like, you've seen a lot of this last year between players. And that is one thing that we need to get better at. And I think
absolutely. And I think, when you say that, I think of Bill Belichick, and his philosophy is simple: do your job. So I think when it comes to those times where the communication may not be on point, if you know the call, if you hear the call and you know what the call is, just handle your assignment. Don't worry about, am I going to have to cover this because this person is not? Do your assignment. That way, when the coaches go back and they look at the tape, if they see that you're doing your assignment, then whoever didn't do their assignment, then that person will be taken out for somebody who's going to come in and do their assignment. But if you have all 11 guys doing their assignment, doing their job, then nobody will have to be taken out. Either you did your job and we got off the field on third down, or we made a big play and got a turnover, or you were going up against somebody like Julio Jones and he just made a great play. If you're doing your job and a great player in this league makes a great play, well, that happens. But I think it's just getting that mental block out of the way and just hearing the call, understanding the defense, and handle your assignment. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It comes down to like you said, doing your assignment. I think this defensive front and this defensive backfield are going to work hand in hand this year, and I think it's going to be better. And I do think that if we stay healthy, I think we'll see a better outcome from our defensive backs. I know a lot of people are mad that we didn't go and draft a safety at 2, but then you wouldn't have been You're not getting a Debo Sam. You're not getting a, you could have got a DK Metcalf because he went way later, but you take away you place what you need, and they're doing more at free safety now. Colbert's at free safety now, and you heard the safeties talk. These two positions are interchangeable in this new system.
Mm-hmm.
So one may play that. You're never going to know who the free safety is because they're both going to start off at the line of scrimmage, and until the call goes, then they're going to drop, and you're not going to really realize that. And I'm excited to see Tart come back. Tart is a baller when he's healthy.
Yeah,
that's the biggest.
sure.
It's got to be healthy. Tart could play free safety. Obviously, I don't want him to play free safety. Moore is a natural free safety, so we'll see how that goes, or see how he's doing in camp, or how he comes out of camp. Same thing with Adrian Colbert, man. I'm not one of those fans that are counting Adrian Colbert out yet, because you have rookie slumps, and the guy's already admitted himself why he was like that. I was trying to play like somebody else. If you want to say that's an excuse, the man had the pride to say, I was playing like somebody else.
Yeah, whenever you can acknowledge your faults, obviously that shows a level of maturity and a level of growth in you just as a person. But when you look at it as a football player, you say, look, I know I didn't play my best last year. I played like crap. I had some good moments, but that wasn't the best product I can put on the field. And I can tell you exactly why. Obviously, I had the injury that kept me out of some games because I wanted to get back and prove myself. But the reason why I wanted to get back was because I wanted to get back to playing like me, because I wasn't playing like me. Anytime you can get somebody to be honest about what plagued them the year before, and they have, like I was saying before, when I was on before, you can just hear in his voice, he has the hunger just to get back, to be like, this is me. This is who I am. Let me show you guys. Let me remind you of, the Adrian Colbert from 2 years ago. So yeah, I'm not counting him out either. I actually want him to start at
I want to see him start too. I'm just a little nervous that, Jimmy Ward comes back right before training camp, and I just, man, it's not that I have anything against Ward, his athleticism. It's just I'm tired of the injuries. You play, then you're hurt, then you're backwards. Because if you get hurt and you're the one who's implemented in the playbook and the design of the defense and the way things run smoothly on the defense, and then you get hurt, now you're throwing somebody else in there who has to catch up.
Yeah.
And especially at that type of position, that's the center field of the field, man. Like you're the leader on that field on the back end.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that Adrian Colbert or Moore, one of those guys, are the starters there, or somebody. I'm just praying that it's not Jimmy Ward. Not that, like I said, it's not that I don't like the guy. It's just there's too many injuries, and when is when. Like that's pretty much like when is enough. Let's see. So, I've heard good things about Moore playing back there. Grant Cohn was saying that he was playing well. A couple other people were saying that he was playing well back there. But as I always said, I'm not taking our media and getting hyped with what our media says, because they will make Blaine Gabbert or Brian Hoyer out to be Tom Brady, and that's just the way our media is. So kind of interesting. I'm waiting till training camp. I want to get some other opinions. I know a lot of guys that are going to training camp this year, so that'll be interesting to see what's going on there, between our own eyes or people that are going there. So, but yeah, I can't get into our whole media. I love Matt Mayoko. I love those guys. But the questions they ask and their eyes for football is just not what I would love to see. So I'm going to open up the floor, guys. If you guys have any questions for myself or Marcus that you want answered, go ahead and drop it in the chat. I'm actually going to pay attention to the chat right now while we're talking. But if you have any questions that you want us to answer, let me know. JD Hawk Hater, what's going on, baby? He said, I'll be taking as much video as possible at training camp because I know he'll be there. If you guys are going to the home opener, myself, Marcus, and my buddy Joe will be there. Going to be a fun time, so make sure you hit me up. Send me a DM. We'll get together. Come have a drink. We'll be at the Avatar. You know where that's at. If you guys don't already, then you've never been to a 49ers game or stayed there. So let's see. Maybe goes hurt last night. Worst case scenario this season will be similar, if not identical to LA Chargers 2018 season. What y'all think? Again, worst case scenario. I did a worst case scenario the other night because of Adam Rank's schedule prediction, which he had us 3-13. I think I still came out with 7 wins. At worst, I think this team, at worst, is going to be a 7-win team. I really do think that. And the reason I think that is we went through the entire schedule, and I gave games to – I gave it to Pittsburgh. I gave it to Green Bay. I gave it to Atlanta. I gave it to Baltimore. I think I had us beating Carolina. I did 1-1 on the Rams, which I really didn't want to do. I wanted to give us a sweep of the Rams, but I just think those games are always played tough. You always get that, no matter how good each team is, they always play each other tough. I wanted to give us the sweep in Seattle, but I couldn't. I ended up taking 1-1. I did have a sweeping Arizona, but at worst, I ended up still coming up with 7 losses. Or 7 wins. I still had us at 7, and I think it was 7-9. At worst. What are your thoughts? Worst case scenario. I don't know if you've seen Adam Rank's thing, but
Listen, he's trolling for views, so I'm not even going to get into Adam Rank.
well, you know what the funny thing is he put an article out, and I posted it on my Twitter that he had the Niners winning 12 games this year, earlier in the season, and then he goes on NFL Network and he picks us to win 3 games, and then when he's picking the Green Bay's team, I watched it today. He's picking the Packers team, and he says, "Oh, the Packers are going into Washington. Washington'd be better off just fielding a college team," but he had us losing to Washington.
Listen,
what?
Trolling for views, man. Worst case scenario, I don't see us under 500. Worst case scenario in my mind is 9-7. That's worst case in my mind. I'm looking at the chat, and there's 2 questions that I like. I know you were looking, but Alan, it's either Alan or Alon. I'm sorry if I'm messing up the name. Wijgowski says, who is the weakest link on the team? And then somebody else asked if we can change it up, and instead of doing a worst case scenario, best case scenario.
Okay, yeah, that's Ollie and Alan.
All right, so let's do since we did worst case scenario, let's do best case scenario. Best case scenario in my mind is 12-4.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm at 11-5, 12-4,
12-4.
winning one of those games that we really shouldn't win, but we pull it out. So
yeah,
that's where I'm kind of stuck at. So 11-5, 12-4 for best case scenario.
And that's what I said with Jimmy. If he can get on a hot streak where we can rip off 3 or 4 in a row because he's picking everybody apart and he's got rapport with his guys and Kyle is scheming stuff and getting everybody open. And because he's, on a roll and he's moving, the defense can fly around and play free. And we're starting to see some of those multi-turnover games, multi-sack games. I think we can rip off a couple in a row. And sometimes it's bad when you have your bye week early because our bye week is week 4. So after that, we have 13 straight weeks of football. So that can become a little bit of taxing. But with that, you get a chance to go on one of those runs to keep that momentum going because you don't have that break of a bye week in between that can kind of halt that run that you were on. So I think best case scenario is a 12-4 for us.
All right, so this is what I think. I think our entire season – I think our entire season of being 11-5, 12-4, 10-6, winning a wild card depends on Jimmy G's play. And that's really what I think. Everybody thinks it's going to be on the defense. A lot of people think, oh, our secondary. I watched those first 3 games again over and over and over again, and just something was off about Jimmy Garoppolo. And you guys, if you don't believe me, you can go back and watch it. If you want me to give you my Game Pass password to watch what I'm talking about, I will.
You still didn't give that to me, by the way.
I could have swore I gave it to you. You better check your messages.
Maybe you did.
Yeah. But really, he was throwing off his back foot a lot. He was throwing jumping in the air and throwing things. And he just didn't look like a Jimmy Garoppolo. He looked like his pocket presence wasn't there. Now, there were some good plays that he made. But if you take notice, he was getting beat up in the Minnesota game. Kyle Shanahan changed it up, and they started to do a lot more rollouts in play action to George Kittle. I think they went to George Kittle twice in the Minnesota game, back to back, on one side, on the other side, for a 12-yard gain, for an 18-yard gain. I really think this season is going to come down to Jimmy Garoppolo's play. And that is the difference between a 7-9 team to a 10-6, 11-5, 12-4. And obviously, to get higher up, you need all cylinders clicking. So you need your defense to be playing well. You need turnovers. You need your offense playing well. But I think to get to that from 7-9 worst case to a better case in a 10-6 and possibly a wild card, it's going to fall on the back of Jimmy Garoppolo. And it's going to fall on how he leads this team and how he plays. Because those first 3 games, he did not look like the 5-game win streak Jimmy Garoppolo. And do I think he'll be fine? Yeah, absolutely. I think he'll be fine. I think he's going to prove himself this year. I think he's going to have a great year. But I'm just saying that to get to those records, it falls on Jimmy Garoppolo's back. He has to lead this offensive team. The red zone worries can't keep settling for field goals. As much as people want to say it, we were one of the worst last year in the red zone. And I got tired of getting a first down on the 10-yard line and not being able to punch it in. Yeah, and having to kick a field goal. So with the additions of Tevin Coleman, Jerick McKinnon coming back, Jimmy Garoppolo coming back, George Kittle, taller guys like Hurd, maybe even Jordan Matthews. Tualolo is a big guy. Caden Smith is a bigger guy. Hopefully they will help those worries, those woes in the red zone. Because between the 20s, Kyle Shanahan will scheme you to death. But once you get into that 20 and be into the red zone or into the end zone, he likes to spread you out. You can't really do that down there. So that's what I think hurts us a lot. But I think it comes down to Jimmy Garoppolo.
All right. Give me a weakest link on the team, and you can't say Jimmy Ward.
Weakest link on the team.
Can't say Jimmy Ward.
This is where we're saying that they make the 53, right?
Yeah, they make the 53, but they're the weakest link.
Oh, I see.
This is a hard one. I'm going to go defensive, and I'm going to go Malcolm Smith.
I'm stuck.
Probably. That's probably who I'll have to go with.
Until he proves me wrong, and I really, really hope he does, because I think he will make that defensive line more dynamic. But right now, because he is going to make the 53 because of where he was drafted, I think Solomon Thomas is the weakest link. And I've been one of the biggest supporters of Solomon Thomas, obviously with everything that he's been through. I can only, empathize, with his situation. I haven't had, a sibling, a best friend, go through the situation that he went through and had to deal with and experience. So I don't know how that feels. I can only empathize with, what I think it would feel like to lose someone like that in my life and still have to go to work every day and perform. Listen, I know if I get into an argument with my wife and it didn't end good, I'm no good at work because I'm still thinking about it and whether I want to call her and apologize or whether I want to yell some more because I was right, whatever the case may be, when I get into arguments with my wife and I'm at work, I'm no good until we settle it. So
I'm
something
the same way.
like that, which is far beyond a simple argument, like that's losing some. Like you can never talk to them again. You know what I mean? I can't imagine going through that and what that feels like. But with all that being said, he has not produced at the level of a number 3 pick. So a lot of what he does this season, I think, is going to determine what we do with him going forward. I know we were generous with guys like Jimmy Ward and Eric Armstead, picking up their 5th-year options. But if Solly doesn't prove it this year, I would be hard-pressed to think we pick up his 5th-year option because of all the talent that we have on our defensive line now. So in my estimation, I think he would be the weakest link until he proves me wrong. And I'm hoping that he does. I'm hoping that he can be another monster on that front. And if we got 4 guys, if we got Solly, Bucky, Bosa, and Ford, if we got all 4 of those guys with the motors that they have coming at you every single down, offensive lines are going to be terrified because they're like, we got to play the Niners this week. Them dudes are humming over there. Quarterbacks are going to be like, okay, I normally have 3 to 4 seconds to get this ball off. Well, this week I'm only going to have 2. So that's going to be in the back of their minds. So I'm really hoping he can put it all together this year and just play with a relentless attitude. Not really, again, mental, not really having the mental hangups.
Yeah, I mean, he's already got a hill to climb with Armstead. He's going to have to beat out Armstead, and I know it's Armstead's last year on his contract, but I think that they're going to want to see. This is a thing. If Armstead has a good camp, like he's been having good OTAs and mini camp, you heard guys out there. You heard Nick Bosa say the way that Eric Armstead is playing is just lights out right now, right? Now, will I take that with a grain of salt? Yes, because there's no practice pads on or things like that. But Armstead is in the last year's contract. If he comes in and has a good camp, he's going to play because the Niners are going to want to see if they need to re-sign him. They're not just going to, put him on the shelf and say, okay, well, we're just not interested in you. So Solomon's already got a little hill to climb, and I think we'll see Solomon outside more than we think this year as well for splits and breaks. But I really think that Solomon, I mean, it's a good choice because we haven't seen it. So he is one of the weakest links. And until he proves otherwise, he's going to be categorized as that. And it's not anything against Solomon the man. It's just he hasn't proven anything. He knows that. He looks hungry this year. He sounds hungry. And I think he's finally mentally stable to where you can get that physicality. Because like you said, if my girlfriend or whoever is mad at me and I'm at work, I can't concentrate because I'm thinking about why. Like, oh, God, I'm going to go home. How am I going to fix this?
Right.
Answer her phone. Like I can't even get through
So
this.
I got to sleep on the couch tonight.
Right. Your mind is just totally not there. And it's just a mental thing. Like your brain takes over and you can't focus on anything else. So I can understand, like, if my sister or brother were to commit suicide, I wouldn't be able to go to work and think about that.
Yeah.
Now, maybe I would have gotten out of it a little bit, like more so mentally would have gotten out of that funk probably a little bit faster, but different people are different.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just the grieving process, the things. They were really close. And I'm sure if I was really close, shit, when my dog dies, I'm going to probably be heartbroken for a week, 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. You know what I mean? Because I'm used to her being around.
Right.
But it's definitely something to not judge him on as well because of the fact. But you also can't come in and just keep using that as an excuse. Like there are times you have to go through the grieving process. You have to let things go. different players react differently. Look at Marquise Goodwin. He lost a child. He went out there and played. And
Man.
I would have never been able to go out there and play.
Yo.
Brett Favre lost his father, went out and had the best game of his career.
Yeah.
So people grieve differently, and some it sticks with and some don't. And some it's just, there's times where, I know like some family members of mine that are like, it just happens and it just doesn't bother them. It doesn't faze them. It's just like life goes on. I got to continue to move. As where I'm one of those kinds will sit back a little bit, suck it all in, take it all in, feel bad for myself, and then say to myself later down the road, like, Nick, you got to get out of this. Like, you got to do this. You know what I mean? But like you said, man, every time if my girlfriend or wife or whoever it is gets pissed off at me, I cannot focus at work. I'm like walking in the door the next day or that night, like
Yeah.
So, you said something earlier, and I want to catch this from you. You said something earlier, and you said 2 quarterbacks. You said when we were talking about the roster, you said we're keeping 4 running backs, with juice, so then that's 5. And then receivers, you said you think we're keeping 6. How many linemen do you think we keep? I said like 8 or 9. And then you're like, but yeah, and 2 quarterbacks. Do you really think that we only keep 2 quarterbacks?
Absolutely. A third quarterback takes up the roster spot.
So neither of our backup guys are eligible for practice squad.
Wilton Spade is.
Yeah, but you have Nick. I'm talking about Nick Mullins or C.J. Beathard.
Yeah, C.J. Beathard's gone. Bye.
Well, I know. I completely agree with that.
I know you do. I know you do. That's why I said it that way. Yeah, C.J.'s out of here. Bye.
Yeah, like I agree that C.J.'s out of here, but I really like if somebody were to be cut, I just Kyle Shanahan just hasn't proved this to me enough yet, as in where he can get rid of. Yes, they got rid of the running back Joe Williams.
Yeah.
Yes, they did that, but I think that was more of Joe Williams wasn't picking things up and he wasn't playing well. Where C.J. Beathard's having a good camp this year. C.J. Beathard was Kyle Shanahan's guy last year.
Didn't C.J. Beathard have a good camp last year?
Oh yeah.
Okay. All right.
I'm nervous as hell, bro. Like I hope it's 2, but I am so nervous that one of these guys are going to take up a roster spot. And the reason I'm saying that is C.J. Beathard was a high draft pick, right? Actually 2 picks because we traded up to take him. So necessarily he was 2 picks.
So why don't we trade him to a team that's looking for a capable backup? Because I know I was on Bleacher Report. They were talking about they had an article about every team's weakest link, and one of the teams that came up with the weakest link was the Philadelphia Eagles, and the Philadelphia Eagles' weakest link was all the quarterbacks not named Carson Wentz. So maybe the Philadelphia Eagles don't like who they have behind Carson Wentz as a backup. Maybe they think that C.J. Beathard is a more capable backup than who they have. They understand that he could pick up complex playbooks because he's played for Kyle Shanahan. Maybe we can trade him to the Philadelphia Eagles for a late-round draft pick.
And they're just praying that he's another Nick Foles. And then praying that he's a Nick Foles when he comes there, right?
Oh my God.
Yeah,
I'm just so nervous because, and the only reason I'm nervous is because we spent those 2 draft picks, and if Kyle doesn't want to cut him, right? And then Nick Mullins is on his last year of his contract. Neither one of them can go to the practice squad. So you have to trade one. Nick Mullins would be the easier guy to get rid of because of the less salary.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So this is where it scares me if you go and trade. Would they switch to, okay, both of them are even, so let's just get rid of Nick Mullins? Right? Well, to where us fans don't think they're even. Most of us fans don't think they're even.
I don't think they're
anywhere near being even. I think the only thing C.J. Beathard does better than Jimmy Garoppolo and Nick Mullins is a deep ball. Throw-wise, arm strength-wise. I think he throws a better deep ball than both of them.
But that's because he's bigger and a little bit stronger.
Yeah, but pocket presence, footwork, the ability to read defenses. I think
internal clock. Terrible.
Jimmy Garoppolo is way better.
Terrible.
Both of them are better. But I'm just nervous because Kyle Shanahan has not shown me that if he cuts one of them, I will be all in, like 1,000% in on Kyle Shanahan, because then he has proven to me that I'm not just keeping a guy here because of where he was in draft. And I know that we did it with Joe Williams, but I don't think Joe Williams and CJ Beathard are in the same category. And the only reason
Joe Williams, one, he wasn't picking up the offense. Two, he wasn't showing like he cared. And that was the same. That was the question with him coming out of college, because he left his college program and then wanted to come back and all this other stuff. He just didn't show that he wanted to be there. It's not like Beathard isn't showing that. Beathard shows up. He works hard.
That's why I'm nervous, because
he has the faith of his teammates, all that stuff.
I don't consider Joe Williams and CJ Beathard in the same category as both of them were drafted. Both of them were Kyle Shanahan's guys, because I think Joe Williams just didn't prove that he wanted to be here, as well as CJ Beathard is proving, okay, I'm a third-round pick. I'm working my tail off. I'm trying to get better. You know, I have a little bit of talent in what Kyle Shanahan says, you know, which I'm not going to go against him. He has some talent, but he's got way worse cons than he does pros. You know what I mean? He's got a lot more cons than he does pros. But so that's where I'm nervous about that whole situation, is because how glued to CJ Beathard is Kyle Shanahan. And if Nick Mullins and CJ Beathard come out even, which this year, this is why I'm nervous about it. This year, CJ Beathard and Nick Mullins should not be competing for the second spot. It should be Nick Mullins is our second guy, and CJ has to earn that. That's how it should have been, right? But it didn't start that way. And that's which has what made me nervous. So if CJ and Nick finish even, and they say, well, we're going to have an easier time getting rid of Nick Mullins, and Nick Mullins came out and won 4 games or 3 games, where CJ Beathard has a 1-9 or 1-10, 1-11 record, has thrown more interceptions, has a worse completion percentage, makes a ton more money, and they say, okay, well, they're both even for us, so let's get rid of Nick Mullins since he's on his last year of his contract, and we're going to keep CJ here. And that's where it makes me nervous. Because if we don't keep 3, I have this gutsy feeling that no matter if Nick Mullins doesn't finish up top, which he's got a battle for some reason. Why is there a battle there between him and CJ Beathard? He should,
because I think playing devil's advocate, and this is just the evil genius mind in me. Maybe Kyle wants to see how Nick is going to handle it. And because he wants Nick to be that guy, but he can't outright say that.
But why can't he?
Because
but why can't he? I mean, Nick Mullins came in and proved that he could run this offense.
You can't. It's a slippery slope. You can say that about whoever your starter is, because obviously Jimmy Garoppolo is a $137 million quarterback. So you could say that about him. But when it comes to like the backup guys and the rest of the guys on the team, like you can't go to say, okay, Jimmy's our starter and, you know, this guy's our clear-cut number 2, even though you have somebody like CJ on the team. Because then you got to go through the running back debate. Well, who's number 1 and who's number 2 and who's number 3? And then you got to go through the wide receiver debate. And it's a slippery slope of basically ranking your entire team. But maybe it's a psychological thing, because if you start the way you say, where Nick is the clear-cut number 2 and CJ has to beat him, what if, not saying that he would, but just playing devil's advocate, what if Nick doesn't take it as seriously? What if he says, well, I'm already penciled in as a number 2. I mean, I like CJ as a person, but let's be honest, he's not a good quarterback. So is he really going to beat me for this spot?
But then that falls on Nick Mullins, because he didn't give his 100% effort.
Absolutely. But again, talking about that mental aspect. And again, this is all scenario based. This is all playing devil's advocate. But it goes back to that mental thing. if you're like, okay, I don't have to kill myself because this guy's not going to beat me, then you run the risk of not playing well, falling into that trap, and then you do get beat by CJ Beathard. What if Kyle, evil genius mind, doesn't want that to happen? What if he's trying to mastermind? Let me tell them that they're both on even footing. Because last year they were on even footing. It was game by game. Now, obviously, Nick played because he was able to be consistent. But when they asked Kyle in the press conference who's going to start, well, we'll see going throughout the week. If CJ's healthy, we'll get him some snaps. Nick will have snaps, and whoever's.
Yeah, I think he was doing that more of a game plan thing, like to just not let anybody know who was starting. Because I wouldn't tell anybody either. It took.
True.
You know what I mean? Like, to me, it's like, okay, well, Jimmy Garoppolo's not playing, but CJ Beathard played last week or Nick Mullins played last week because CJ Beathard was hurt. But, oh, well, coach, who are you having play this week? Well, we'll see as the week goes along. Because they don't have to have the rosters or the starters in until almost Friday.
Mm-hmm.
So that's tipping your hand. You know what I mean? That's like, that's why most people wait. And us as fantasy football player, like people who hate that, excuse me, because we have to wait till almost game time decision
Mm-hmm.
to see who's playing. Because, okay, well, this running back was hurt last week, but he's still on the fence of starting or not. Because people don't know, because you game plan. So I wouldn't give that away. But I understand what you're saying, and I'm going to take it. You kind of changed my mind a little bit on it because playing devil's advocate, you kind of make a little bit of sense. So
yeah, you got to give them both even footing because they already know that they're not going to be the starting quarterback. So it's there's no risk in saying, listen, both of you guys are starting from point A. Or starting from ground zero. Like both of you are here. You aren't above him. He isn't above you. You're both on evil playing field. It's up to you to take this number 2 spot. I'm gonna give you your reps, and whoever makes the most out of it is gonna win that job. There's no risk in doing that.
I will tell you this, and tell me if you think I'm wrong. If Jimmy Garoppolo was playing 11 on 11s right now and was healthy, you would have a clear-cut number 2 guy right now.
Nah, not in the situation that we have when we have Nick Mullins who played the way he did, but then you have CJ Beathard who, like you said, is a 3rd-round pick, and we traded up for him.
Right, but I'm saying because in that scenario, Nick and CJ are getting all the snaps right now, pretty much. Other than in 11 on 11s,
mm-hmm.
and they're splitting the 7 on 7. So instead of going through, because I doubt Wilton Spate is playing a lot of 7 on 7. He's probably getting like very minimal 1 to 3 snaps for the entire day.
Mm-hmm.
So you're splitting the other snaps amongst Beathard and whatchamacallit. If Garoppolo was there playing 7 on 7s and 11 on 11s, that's going to diminish the number 2 and number 3 snaps and further down. You might not even have Wilton Spate there, to be honest. So if Jimmy was healthy,
well, no, Spate is always going to be there. Spate's a camp arm,
right?
So even if Jimmy is fully healthy, I think Kyle limits his reps, especially in training camp, because when you think about it, come the season, the backup. Even the backup quarterback is going to get limited snaps during the season. All the reps during the season are going to go to the starter.
Oh, absolutely.
I think in mini camp and in training camp, you can limit the snaps that Garoppolo gets to give your 2nd and 3rd string more reps so that you can see who's going to win the job. So even if Jimmy's not completely healthy now, and that doesn't matter. He's going to play this season, and he is the clear cut. Like there's no, unless he tears his ACL again earlier than week 3, going into week 1 and the rest of the season, Jimmy's starting. So regardless of whether he's healthy or not, or he's playing on 11 on 11s, that is your starting quarterback. So you want to see who's going to snatch this number 2 job, and you give them an even playing field and say, look, the ball's in your court. One of you got to take it, and one of you got to score.
Right.
Whoever gets the ball first and scores, congratulations, you're our number 2 quarterback.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting battle. It's going to be an interesting battle. So, all right, let's see. Just take one more question here, or 2 more questions. Nick Mullins is a poor man's Nick Foles. I don't agree with that.
I wouldn't say that.
Ali Bear says Kyle would be a fool to cut Mullins after the NFL quarterback ranking. Trade CJ for shaving cream. Jeff Tan said Eagles ? I think that's what we were talking about. Let's see. Bye-bye, CJ. Fact or fiction, Beathard is cut after preseason. Rob Amon. We kind of talked about that. We both agree that he's probably cut. So let's, guys, I'll take 2 more questions. I see one here. And actually, did you watch the Dante Pettis video?
Yeah.
So let me ask you that question: fork or a spoon for the rest of your life?
Listen, I'm gonna have to agree with Marquise and Jordan Matthews. I'm gonna have to go spoon.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Because a lot of the stuff I eat, I can eat with a spoon. Like cereal, number 1. My wife makes New Orleans style seafood gumbo, and you can't eat that with a fork.
But you can slurp it out of a bowl.
No, but see, like it's different because it's not just like the broth. Like she makes the white rice with it, and then you pour the gumbo over the white rice. But the gumbo has chicken in it. It has
Wait, so you're gonna let me get some of this first off?
Huh?
You gonna let me get some of this first off?
Listen, next time she makes a pot, I'll give you some.
All right.
I mean, it's good. But you got that. You got cereal. You got all other kinds of soups and stuff that you can't eat with a spoon. And if you cook a steak perfect, and if you cook a tender enough steak, you should be able to. I've seen videos where people have cut steaks with a spoon. So if I can cut a steak with a spoon, once I cut it, then I can pick it up with my fingers. So I'm gonna go with a spoon, man.
All right. I'm probably gonna stick with a fork, but I mean, even though I eat like macaroni with a spoon, like I don't even eat it with a fork.
You can eat all that. And somebody said something about pasta. You can definitely eat pasta.
Well, true Italian eats pasta with using a spoon too, because they use it to twirl. And then I mean, that's just how my grandmother used to eat pasta all the time, was with a spoon.
Listen, even when my wife makes spaghetti, what we do is I take my daughter's spoon, because obviously she's only 2. So I take her spoon and I chop up the noodles to where they aren't long, but they're short enough. And then she can use her spoon to pick up the pasta and eat it with a spoon. So you can eat pasta with a spoon. As long as a steak is tender enough, you can cut a steak with a spoon. You can't eat cereal with a fork. I'm going spoon. I'm definitely going spoon.
All right. I'm gonna stay with fork, just to be different. But I'm gonna stay with fork. So JD says, where are you sitting at the home opener, Nick? I'm not sure yet, because I actually haven't gotten my tickets yet, because I'm waiting a little bit, and then I'm gonna have probably Croc or Anthony or one of them guys to go over once they're in the city or in Santa Clara, and get my tickets from the front office, because it's just, I'm tired of paying $90 in processing fees or whatever it is. So, but yeah, I'll have seats. I'll let you know once I get tickets, JD. If you're ever around over there, let me know. Maybe you could just pick them up for me. This is quality content 49ers fans need. Spoon can be used for everything a fork is used for, but not vice versa.
See? Spoon is interchangeable.
Ali Bear says, I have to go with spoon. I can't eat my poi with a fork.
See? Spoon is interchangeable.
You heard Dante Pettis too. He said, why is everybody a spoon guy?
Yeah.
So, all right, guys. Well, that's pretty much it. I'm gonna see if there's any more questions, and then we'll get out of here. I know Marcus has to work in the morning as well. I wish I could say the name. It's Akello Witherspoon, not Witherfork.
That's a good one.
That's a good one, JD.
That's a good one. That wins comment of the live stream. That was good.
Spy Nick Danger says, can you guys help me locate a 49er bar in Los Angeles? Guys, if you guys know any 49ers bars in LA, because I'm not familiar with LA, hook Spy Nick Danger up. Let him know in the chat room. Hit him up on Twitter or wherever he's at. Ali, what's going on, baby? We're just getting ready to get out of here. But yeah, JD wins the comment of the night. It's Akello Witherspoon, not Witherfork.
Nice.
I agree with that. So, guys, yeah, if you guys know any Niners bars in LA, in Los Angeles, hit up Spy Nick Danger. Let him know. He's in the chat right now. If you guys are from there and you guys know any bars from around there, yeah, try to find a fan chapter in LA. Matthew Murphy says there's tons of chapters all over the place, guys. If you're going to be at the home opener or the Tampa game or the New Orleans game, let me know because we will party it up.
Are we? Oh, you still doing New Orleans?
Oh, I'm still doing New Orleans.
You got everything confirmed for the place?
So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll talk to you about it.
Okay.
So Kendrick Wells, yeah, Kendrick, you're in Sacramento. I'm always up in Santa Clara. I won't tailgate with you. I don't know if you tailgate. I don't know if you said you'll tailgate with us. I saw you on my Twitter, so I saw that you were going to that game. So hit me up and let me know where you're at. I'll be at the for the home opener. I'll be staying at the Avatar right across the street from the Hilton. So that's where I always stay for the home opener. Got a ton of Niner fans there. Gallagher Ginn, Long Beach, KB 16,000 says to Spy Nick Danger. Also, he says SF Saloon. Looking at Bengals and Saints. Brian, yeah, man, I'll be in NOLA, man. I can't turn down that gumbo and 49ers football. So that's why I'm gaining so much weight, eating too much good food. But
and I think if I can't make that one, because they're within driving distance, I'm definitely going to be at the Washington game and the Baltimore game.
Yeah, they have a Baltimore meetup this year. I know the guy Avery, he was actually running that. So I'll let you know what that is all about too, because they're having a big meetup there. And I'm still trying to go to the Green Bay game in San Francisco. So that's still on the bubble. It depends on what things. But I'm trying to go to 4 games, definitely 3. Trying to go to 4. But man, my Niners are expensive. This is why I said I should just buy season tickets. I should just buy the seat license and the tickets. But all right, guys, man, if you guys don't have anything else, that is all I have for the night. So make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Give us a like. There's like 100 people in here, so make sure you hit that like. Let us get those likes.
Hit that bell for the post notifications too.
Yeah, man, you got to set up the bell for the notifications, like Marcus said. And I hope you guys enjoyed tonight's show. Make sure you give us a follow on all social media avenues: Twitter and Snapchat, nothing but 9, the number 9 ERS. Facebook and Instagram, nothing but Niners. SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Google Play, wherever you listen to your podcast apps at. Check us out there. And then you can also follow us or give us our website a follow, nothingbutniners.com. That's nothingbutniners.com. All of our social media is there, including our YouTube page, a bunch of great articles from a slew of great writers that we have. And if you guys are interested in writing or anything for this upcoming season, let me know. We're not always taking writers, but we can see what's out there. So give me a call. Let us know. What week is the NFL trade deadline this year? Ali, I have no idea. I haven't even looked at that yet, dude. You're killing me over there, Ali. Ali is one of our team members, and he's in Toronto, Canada, and he's a Raptors fan, so he's super excited.
Oh, man. He's probably still partying.
Yeah, he's probably still partying. So, all right, guys, man, I am 49er Faithful 365 on Twitter. I'm not on Facebook anymore. But Marcus, are you on Twitter?
Yeah.
What is your Twitter handle?
Twitter handle is Agent Mose, AGENTMOSE. That's on Twitter and on Instagram. Agent Mose on Twitter and Instagram.
Yeah, I forgot what your Twitter handle was. AGENT
That's it.
Mose. Agent Mose. Guys, give me a follow on Twitter, 49er Faithful 365, as well as Marcus on Twitter and Instagram, Agent Mose, AGENT MOSE. If you guys want your Birth of a Dynasty shirts, I got them. If you want your Stone Cold Kittles, hoodies, t-shirts, tank tops, whatever you want, I got those as well. I just shipped out, well, I'll be shipping out 3 shirts to Miss Debbie, Miss Top Hat. She ordered from us, so I appreciate the support for that, guys. Miss Debbie, I appreciate that. If you guys need anything, let me know. Other than that, man, I cannot wait for football season to start, and we should be back Sunday. If not, maybe a little bit earlier. Keep your notifications set. Set that bell for your notifications. Guys, man, that's all I got. Marcus, you got anything else?
I'm good, man. Thanks for coming out and joining us, Faithful. Nick, thanks for having me again. And let's get training camp started, man. I can't wait.
Yes, sir. 6 weeks and counting, guys. Training camp, training camp, training camp. How do I find a 49er chapter in Los Angeles? Google it. Yeah, definitely. You can Google that. Wild Bill, appreciate you. Matthew Murphy, Mr. Robot, Ali, Van Life, KB 16,000, Spy Nick Danger, Brian Carter, KB, Kendrick Wells, Matthew Murphy, Ali Bear, as always, Mr. Robot, JD Hawk, D Prince J, and all the rest of you guys. Appreciate you guys joining us as always. And above all else, stay faithful. We out of here. Peace.